Hello, everybody. So, as promised, we are going to be talking about, or you're going to hear me talk about, Slade Princess, which is a game we just finished on the channel. Um, so basically, So first off, I really have to say I really like this game. It's very like it starts out really simple and you think, "Oh, it's just a looping mechanism." But then toward the end when things start getting revealed, then you're like, "Oh, that's what happened." So basically, and first off, spoiler alert for Slade Princess. If you haven't watched me or somebody else play it, or you haven't played it yourself, please go play this game or go watch somebody else play it. Doesn't have to be me. It can be whoever. I think Mark's played it. I'm not sure if Jacksepticeye's played it. Um, I know Black Tabby has played it in the past. So yeah, they're out there. If you research, if you put Slade the Princess into YouTube search bar, you'll be able to find quite a few playthroughs of the game. But yeah, I would highly consider playing the game yourself if you can. If not, watching somebody play it. You know. But yeah, so from here on out, there will be spoilers. Um, but yeah, like I remember the first time I played this game, I actually played Scarlet Hollow first before I played Slade Princess. And I think a lot of people was the opposite. Like they played Slade Princess first, and then they played Scarlet Hollow. But like I do find it interesting. Both games kind of remind me of a Choose Your Own Adventure book. If anybody remembers those that were popular in the 80s and possibly the 90s. But yeah, you just went to a bookstore, yeah, got them. They were different kinds. Kind of remind me of the Goosebumps books a little bit, in the fact that each story was kind of set off on its own. I don't remember if there were any stories that like blended together or were meant to be together or whatever, but like, I remember in the titles of the books, but I used to love those books. Basically, you'd start on the first page, you'd read down to the bottom, and then it'd say, if you choose this option, turn to page 6. If you choose this option, turn to page 172 or something like that. And so like your choices mattered because it you got to choose which page you were going to next, and it changed the story. So, but yeah, I used to love those books. So, like, I love Black Tabby games because they give that nostalgia itch almost of, oh, this is like a choose your own adventure book, kind of like. But instead of like making one choice, you get to make a lot of different choices. And you can choose to be a nice person, you can choose to be a not so smart person. You can choose to be a mean person. You can, basically choose what route you're gonna take throughout the game. And it starts at the beginning when they have you pick your traits and stuff. And they even have a hard mode where it's like you get to pick an extra trait, but like you don't get, like, if you're trying to save Rosalina and the other girls from the mine, you don't get to do that. I've not played hard mode yet. Maybe I should at some point, but for right now, there's enough content to make it be not, not worth my time. And not worth my time, but like not necessary as of right now. But like maybe in the future. But anyway, back to Slay the Princess. So Slay the Princess is a very deep game. Like I said, starts out and you think, oh, it's just like a time loop, or it's just like a thing where you keep repeating your actions until you get the right actions. But no, that's not the point of the game. The point of the game is that you, as the Long Quiet, are sent from one construct to another construct to another construct. And like, there's one thing I still have yet to figure out, and that is when the narrator says that if you leave the princess locked up, eventually she will find a way out. But then there's parts where the princess herself will say to you at the Long Quiet, will be like, I can't leave without you. So here's what we're going to do so that I can leave with you. And kind of stuff. And that leads to various paths and stuff. And I liked the vessels of the princess that we got, or the vessels of the shifting mound, as she ends up being called. I also have to say I really like that they don't really reveal much of the plot of the game. They'll really reveal what's going on until way close to the end of the game. And of course you find out through the narrator who's been talking to you, telling you what to do. And like, I find it kind of interesting. So like, whoever the narrator was, like, he's shown in the game as like a raven or a crow or something like that. Some sort of black bird like that. But he made us, but apparently he split us and the shifting mountain. Like, we were part of the shifting mountain at one point. And then the narrator somehow split us apart. And I have to say, narrator, you were so powerful. Why couldn't you deal with the shifting mountain on your own? Which honestly makes me kind of long for a prequel, where it's like the narrator trying to deal with the situation before he decides to do what he did. But, like, if this person, being, whatever he is so powerful that he can split one giant god into two, trap one of them in a construct. Well, he trapped both of them in a construct, but he, like, tried to manipulate the Long Quiet into destroying part of himself, which is why I'm really curious and why I have a thought that because the Long Quiet and the Shifting Mound were at one point one and the same, if that's maybe one of the reasons why we can't die, because if she essentially can't die permanently, then we essentially can't die permanently because we're both part of the same being. And, like, that I find really interesting. And like I said, I also do kind of like how in both Slade Princess and Scarlet Hollow, we don't get all the answers. You know? It's like, I still have questions for the final chapters whenever they come out. I still have questions that I hope will get answered. But again, I don't know. It might end up being a little bit like the TV show Lost, where not everything got answered, where we get answers, but then we get more questions. And so, but yeah. So, to me, that's just really interesting that we were both part of the same person. Because the first time I played the game, I was like, oh, we're romantic, you know, we're long lost lovers, and that's why it's in the realm of she's a princess, we're the knight sent to slay her or save her or whatever we decide to do. I think I've mentioned this before, but if you guys want to hear a really interesting and really good take on Slade Princess, I highly recommend Katie and Catburger. Their channel, who I've started watching little videos here and there, but she did 2 videos on Slay the Princess, and it was really kind of interesting because the first video was kind of more typical, and it's like, this is a love story and all that, but then you're like, but I'm not going to spoil it, but she takes the second video that she makes in a different direction, and, like, here's the thing. You don't have to get the good ending. You don't have to get the ending where you and the Shifting Mound escape from the construct into the world. Any world proper anymore. And you can I mean, as you guys probably saw in our last video, you can choose to slay her. You can choose to, like I said, we probably could have kept going with the fighting and the different vessels, speaking their mind and saying things. But it's like, we didn't have to agree with her. We didn't have to. There are at least 2 endings. I've gotten one. I have yet to get the other one. But there's apparently 2 endings where you can be the last man standing, so to speak. Where you can destroy her and you can basically be the only god and stuff. And so, I don't know. I find that really interesting. Like I say, Katie, who's the one who does most of the talking in at least the Slay the Princess video, she definitely takes it in an interesting direction. She compares it to something. And it's like, yeah, because again, like I've told y'all that I do not trust any of the characters who keep trying to get us to do certain things. I don't trust Tabitha, I don't trust Wayne, or the Entity, I don't trust Sybil. Which makes it kind of interesting when it comes to chapter 5, and you're out of the mansion, and then you're like, oh, what do I do? Who do I go to? You want to know who I trust in Scarlet Hollow? Who I kind of trust a little bit more? Dr. Kelly. And I mean, like, yeah, she made a long-term very bad choice, but at the same time, she is trying to protect herself and her son. She is trying to be the best doctor in a dying town that she can. And she's also very blunt and very much like she'll tell you to your face, Tabitha, if Tabitha came in to see me more often, blah, 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 kind of thing. It's like doctor's visit. And anyway, I keep going to Scarlet Hollow, but like they're so similar in a way, but they're also so different in a way. But yeah, so I don't know. I just find it fascinating. And it's like one of the things you can eventually say to the shifting mound is, we keep hurting each other. Or you can say that to several of the vessels. It's like, why do we have to keep hurting each other? Why do we have to keep killing each other? Can't we work together? Kind of thing. And you can go that route. And that's an interesting route in and of its own. But yeah. And I don't know. Like in my mind, I'm kind of like, okay, like, I find it fascinating that the narrator, or the echo of the narrator, will not tell us anything about the shifting mound. And you won't call her by her real name or anything, or her name that she's been given by the world that she's in, or whatever. But, like, I find it kind of interesting. I want to see what you guys think, if you guys agree with me or not, but I honestly think the narrator doomed all those worlds, all those constructs. Or did he? Because, like he kept saying she would end the world. And he kept, like when he confessed who he was and why he did what he did. And the shifting mound was death, basically. And, like, I like how the shifting mound clarifies that. She's like, I'm not death. I have her within my multitudes, but, I'm not, like, 100%, I'm not like the Grim Reaper from the Sims games or whatever. I'm not, I don't just come and cause death for people. But then again, she caused us to die multiple times. I'm not even really sure why I'm putting that in quotes, because technically, the Long Quiet did die every time, But, like, think about it. The narrator broke up the shifting mound, broke up us, and apparently we're the same as each. Although I don't know. Because, like, each world we landed in, each construct we landed in was different. So does that mean that every construct that we let her out in, does that mean that that world truly was doomed? Or did the narrator mean more the construct, which I have you all in, is doomed, will be destroyed? And then you'll go on to the next one, either as a new Long Quiet or as a, like, that's the other fascinating thing. It's like each princess that we encountered in each world was different in one way or another. And so, and, like, I like that we have the choice to shape the princess into whoever she turned out to be. So, like, even with the most simple example, when we go to the first cabin, we have a choice of taking the blade with us, in which case the princess would be more cold and more regal and more like like a noble princess sitting on her throne or whatever. Whereas if we don't take the blade, the princess is more hesitant and more friendly and more, that kind of thing. But also, if we don't try to save her right away, she has a chance of flipping back into that cold, hard, tough princess and stuff. And so, I don't know. I just find that really interesting. I find it interesting that, like, neither the narrator nor the shifting mountain will let us leave once if we try to leave. Like, the narrator will just lead us back to the cabin, and the shifting mountain, if we even decide to just leave, we'll be like, yeah, you've already been set upon this path. You need to finish it, kind of thing. So, like I said, I still have some questions. I still, like, I wouldn't say, like I said, the first time I played the game, I got a romantic vibe about the end, but then I got the good ending where we finally leave the construct and go into the actual world. And I also like that the shifting mountain, when we bring her a new vessel, we ask her, how do you feel, or whatever. I can't remember what the exact wording is, but it's very similar to, how do you feel, what do you think, and what are you, kind of thing. She's like, I am flickering lights in an abandoned city, or whatever, and it's like, but then the more vessels you bring her, the stronger she gets, and she's like, I'm beginning to see the roads, the intersecting lives, and all that. And that also kind of makes me think that she's not necessarily a bad person. Like, I can understand kind of why the narrator wanted her to be destroyed, but again, I think the narrator, even when we successfully slay whatever princess we get, it doesn't last, because we're on to the new world with another part of the narrator, another echo, and another, I also kind of find it funny that we kind of take after the narrator in the fact that he is apparently some kind of bird creature, and we are essentially modeled after him. So it's like giant bird creature versus human princess. And, like I said, I just find that funny. I just, I want to ask if you, I understand if the narrator could take care of the shifting mountain by himself, then there wouldn't be a game. I mean, I understand that, or the game would be different. But I do find it kind of interesting that the narrator kind of made us in his image, so to speak. And was like, well, if I can't do this, maybe you can, And he made us, the Long Quiet, after himself. Which also brings up an interesting question. If he pulled the Long Quiet out of the shifting mound, if he pulled us out of whatever the shifting mound was, if he was able to do that, maybe that's what turned him into those echoes. If maybe with his last breath he was able to enclose the three into kind of into a construct, into a world within a world, so to speak. But yeah, I just, like, again, I have questions, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, it's a satisfying game. And like I said, you don't have to be a nice, long, quiet. You can be mean. You can question the shifting mound, even at the end. Even after she's got all her vessels back, you can be like, why didn't you do this? Why am I the one who has to do all this and stuff? And those are legitimate questions. And I think the creators of the game did that to get us thinking, to have us think about that kind of stuff, and to be like, oh, maybe, maybe it's supposed to teach us that we need to think for ourselves, that we can't just be like one of the first options we can get with the narrator, things we can say to the narrator is, okay, thanks for telling me what to do. It's like, I'm not going to question this, I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to obey you because you seem like you know what you're doing, and you seem like you have, he's the narrator, he's telling the story. And so, but again, like I said, I kind of find it funny. It's like the shifting mound says that death is in her multitudes. So maybe that's why we can't permanently slay the princess. Or why, when we die at the end of whatever cycle or world we're in, why we can't die permanently. So, yeah. So, if you guys want to, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you played the game, if you watched me play the game, if you have ideas or you have, thoughts, put them in the comments. I want to see what you guys think about it. If you want to, you don't have to, but just saying, if you guys want to talk about it, even amongst yourselves, that's fine with me. Like I said many times, the space is whatever you guys want it to be. So the other thing is I'm trying to decide what game to play next. Like, I know there are some games that we were playing, like Chef RPG, Tiny Bookshop, that kind of thing. Almost at this point, I'm just to the point where I want to start over with like a brand new playthrough. I also have the, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's one where it's like a farming / life simulator, but you actually die in the game, and then your descendants take over for you. And so that might be interesting to play. I was thinking about Oxenfree again, just because it's a bit different than anything we've really played before, and might be fun to kind of play it over again from the beginning and see what kind of endings we can get, because again, there are multiple endings with this game. Also, I was thinking about getting Oxenfree 2, because apparently that game, like, it's a few years later, but it continues the saga, so to speak, and stuff. So I don't know. If you guys have any ideas on games you would like to play, things you would like to see on the channel, let me know. I will definitely be uploading this. Might take a little bit. I also, I reordered some of my prescriptions and they are ready, so I'm gonna walk into town at some point and go into Boots and collect those and everything. So, but in the meantime, like I said, let me know if you have any ideas for games. If you want to talk amongst yourself in the comments, if you want to, about Slay the Princess, about any of the other games we played. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't have to if you don't want to, but if you want to, feel free. But yeah. So anyway, I will see you guys later. Like I said, still trying to decide what game to play next. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna log off, have a bit of lunch, and then get ready to go into town. So I will talk to you guys later.